It's time for the Jim and Terry Show.
Send me an... It seems rather odd saying an old-fashioned email, as if they're written on parchment or something. I guess that does seem rather quaint these days, emailing into a radio programme. Oh, I remember the days when we got letters. But email is bob.fisher@bbc.co.uk. Yes, Fisher's Fancies 2013, playing out my pick of the BBC introducing tracks that we've had on the programme this year. Callan. Oh, what a curious phenomenon Callan have been on the programme this year. It is essentially three friends who live in different countries. So we've got Keith Allen, who's here in Middlesbrough, in the country of Middlesbrough, Kevin Gibbons, who's in Wales, and the enigmatic Terry Wigmore, who is in Bobcaygeon in Canada. And they work together. They contribute different bits of the same song online. None of them have ever met each other, which I find strangely fascinating. We did have Keith in the studio a couple of months ago chatting about the whole thing, but he's never met Kevin or Terry, and they've never met each other either. It's purely an internet collaboration. Anyway, you can find them at, if you go to mp3unsigned.com and look for Callan, Kallen, you can find them on there. And this is Way Too Busy.
Hello. Hello. What time is it? Hello. Everybody has a place that they're all going to. They're busy in their lives and they're too busy to take a call from you. Yeah, I need you to come into work tomorrow. Hello. If you could, that would be great. Hello. Make it up and you can't break. I need these figures like yesterday. Don't you hang up on me, I got more to say.
If the phone rings, don't answer it. I don't want to pick it up. I don't want to talk to anybody. You hear me?
Too much, too little, too
Don't
late.
pick up the phone.
You can't break. Who needs the brains when you've got the looks? I know you're there.
There's a real sense of entitlement. We're all at the end of someone else's chain. And it comes in the form of a text, an email, or a call.
Way too busy. Way too busy.
Non-communication is a form of communication. Don't answer that call. Don't pick up the phone. We live in an age of call display, message forwarding. There's no reason that you need to pick up that phone. Let it ring. If it's really important, they'll leave a message.
Everybody has a place that they're all going to. They're busy in their lives and they're too busy to take a call.
It's not really that I'm too busy to answer your call. It's that I'm choosing not to. Is that hard to take? You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. The truth is I'm reclaiming some of my time for myself.
Everybody has a place that they're all going to. They're busy in their lives and they're too busy to take a call from you. Way too busy. Way too busy. Hello?
Yeah, it's your work calling.
Yep.
And we need you to come in on Saturday morning and probably Sunday morning too. Now, if you could come in about 7, that would be great.
first track you heard, Callan and Way Too Busy. Thank you to Keith Allen, Kevin Gibbons and Terry Wigmore for that. And yes, you can find them at mp3unsigned.com and look for Callan, Kallen. Remember the first time I played that? I think it was Dave in Thorpe Fuels, who is a regular listener to this nonsense, had missed me say who it was and posted on Facebook and asked if the track that I'd played was an undiscovered Frank Zappa track. Which I think that all of you should take as a huge compliment, and I can kind of see what he means as well. Second one. Doesn't sound anything.
Welcome to the Jim and Terry Show, coming to you from the Hobbit Hole Studio in Bobcaygeon and the Comfy Couch in Pefferlaw. Wait a minute. The Comfy Couch? Jim, are you there? Hello? Hello? Jim is way too busy. No, he's not too busy unless he's busy recovering. Recovering from what, you might ask? Well, it seems the inevitable has happened, even to the mighty, immortal, invincible, and all the other words that Jim uses to describe himself. He's a little mortal and not so invincible this morning. He let me know via text message that he is under the weather, tested positive on the weekend for COVID. Yes, it's manageable. There are things that are happening, runny nose, cough, that kind of thing, but he feels not too bad. So there you go. Boosted, he is. 3 shots in the arm. Keeps him safe, but he's got to isolate. So there he is. He's not feeling well. His throat is scratchy and doesn't feel like he can carry on a conversation. So the coffee this morning is a solo clink, clink, chin, chin, and a shout out to my good friend Jim, who I trust is sitting in his comfy couch, wrapped up in his maple leaf blankie and taking it easy and getting his strength back and recovering as he needs to, because he has a holiday coming up as well. So we're looking forward to talking to him about his holiday plans and where he's going. And I understand it might be to Governor DeSantis' neck of the woods. Down to Florida he's off to. Well, we'll see how he does there. That first opening song was a real reach back to 2013 and a song by the band that was known as Callan, which is K for Keith, Allen for Keith Allen. And that is what Wigmore Allen Gibbons was known by in the early days on mp3unsigned.com. Things have changed considerably since those early days. We no longer are looking for airplay on BBC. The host who did support Wigmore Allen Gibbons quite regularly and with whom I engaged in quite a few email exchanges. He was fascinated, Bob Fisher was, from BBC T's Music Introducing, by the Canadian. That's me, the Terry of the Jim and Terry Show. I listened as I became aware. Keith would send me an email saying, Bob Fisher's going to be playing one of our songs. And so I would tune in and listen. And eventually, I just started to tune in and listen every Saturday afternoon. I would try to pause whatever I was doing. Oftentimes, it would be out barbecuing, doing yard work, but I would stop. It was evening in Middlesbrough time, and it was mid-afternoon here. But I would stop what I was doing just to listen, and where I could, I started up an email correspondence with the presenting host, Bob Fisher. And it became something that he and his co-hosts and guest musicians looked forward to, because whether they were playing a Wigmore Allen Gibbons track that week or not, I would listen and comment with adjectives, superlatives, descriptions, commenting on both things Canadian and things from a Canadian musician's point of view about their musical guests on the show. And that lasted for, I'm going to say about 5 years of religious listening every Saturday afternoon and writing correspondence and striking up a friendship with Bob Fisher. using the music of Wigmore Allen Gibbons as the starting point. And that song that we began with, Way Too Busy, was one of the first experiments in what became known as, in our genre terms, as Terry-tronica, which is stuff that I would start with synthesizers, electronica, sound effects, a lot of, what would they call it? Well, electronica, I guess, is the word for it. And then I would pass off that bed track, pre-mixed, and send it off to Keith and Kevin and say, what about it, guys? Anything in there that you can hear? Can you hear a melody? Can you hear a conversation? Can you hear anything that you can add? And invariably, I would get back a whole bunch of stuff that I would then assemble using the software program, the digital audio workstation that I was using. Now, in the course of, well, we began in 2012, so this is our 10th anniversary, and if you go to terrywigmore.com, you will find a collection of 35, 36, maybe 37 songs, whatever the maximum is that the Wix site would allow me to create for one album. I stuffed everything, odds and sods of songs that never made it to the previous 11 albums that we have up on that page. And that's a collection from 2012 on. So here's to Wigmore Allen Gibbons, or Callan, or Callan Wag, as we became known in the latter years, until we started to say, well, it's Wigmore Allen Gibbons, and that was how we began to be known in the past 4 or 5 years out of the past 10 years that we've been doing this stuff. So without, belaboring the point, I'm going to take you down the memory lane of Wigmore Allen Gibbons. And that opening with Bob Fisher narrating Way Too Busy was one of the first ones. But here is the actual first Wigmore Allen Gibbons tune.
Yeah.
There you go. Tribal Voices. TRI, try for three of us. Wigmore Alan Gibbons, originally called Callan on MP3 Unsigned. We tried to use our own local, regional, dialectic expressions. In the case of Middlesbrough and Wales, they were chants or cheers at the local football stadiums. These were things, the how wow way, yay yay, and the one from Wales as well. And just I am embarrassed to say this, but I used the Fred Flintstones as my tribal yabba dabba dum dabba 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 do yabba dabba doo kind of stuff. Anyway, whatever it was fun in the creative process. Really awkward to stitch that one together. There were so many tracks beyond what my little DAW could manage, so we had to scale it down. Even then, it still sounds crowded with tribes gathering. Maybe it was the Iroquois Confederacy. Reading some of the books on First Nations history in North America has given me some of that insight. And of course, there is Curve Lake Reserve not far down the road from here. So that began the Assembly of the Tribes. From there, well, I'm going to sample some of our albums over the past 10 years. And here's a cut from our first album. This is how it starts, Wigmore Alan Gibbons. The track is track 1, called How Many Times?
How many times? How many times? How many times? How many times?
Claim that you're sorry, tears in your face as you cry. You beg my compassion, I'm almost convinced as you lie. But I don't believe you, nothing you say makes me break. And I don't believe you, not going down in your wake. I'll just take a chance on my own.
How many times must I forgive?
How many times?
All of the wrongs that you had to give.
How many times?
How many times?
Some of the notable features of that song was the papa rhythm in the How Many Times, papa and Keith's bass. A big feature in the Wigmore Alan Gibbons sound is the bass, and of course Keith's lead guitar takes over and drives that chorus. Kevin's vocals feature prominently and shine on the lead vocal spot. Keith comes in and takes his own in the chorus, How Many Times, driving that one. And it usually begins with just a drum track and some synthesizers, some electronica, some samples, stitched together, giving an idea of a mood. And from there, who knows where we go? I send it off, and Keith comes back with lyrics and guitars, and Kevin comes in with lyrics and vocal, and off we go. From our second album, things got a little more experimental and a little more political, I guess would be that. And How Many Times is, of course, the theme of forgiveness, and from that biblical passage, how many times should we forgive? 7 times? 70 times 7? How about as long as it takes? This one is called Carry On Soldier.
Carry on, soldier. What you give is what you get. Carry on, soldier, while we bleed to death. While you spread your lies, we slipped away. We were not sleeping. While you spread your disease of killing. Well, carry on, soldier. What you give is what you get. Well, carry on, soldier, while we bleed to death.
Carry On Soldier is the second track on the second album from the past 10 years from Wigmore, Alan Gibbons. I'm going to read a little blurb that Keith wrote regarding the song. I often get asked what this song is all about. A slight anti-war feeling goes on, I suppose, although the main line was one that my mother tried to say to me as a youngster. Quote, "Carry on, my little soldier," unquote. It's no mistake that it has a slight Middle Eastern feel, since that's the source of many conflicts throughout human history. And we did a video for this also. It's on YouTube, on Keith's YouTube channel. You can find it if you look up, I'm not sure if it's Wigmore Alan Gibbons or Callan on YouTube. I'll look at that in a minute and get back to you. The lyrics and vocals and bass Keith did. As usual, Terry supplied those slinky beats and synthesizers, and Kevin picked up those sitar-type notes on his guitar. The video, here it is. The video is at youtube.com, and it's, the code I'll post in our blurb here. What do they call it? When you look at the bottom underneath YouTube, link below. There you go. I'll put the link below to that. You can see it there. Now, the third album, well, maybe I should backfill this and say the first 3 albums that we assembled was in celebration of each of us individually, so we each got to choose an album collection. The first one was Terry's picks, called This Is How It Starts. The second album is Keith's picks. It's called Wait and See. And from there we got the Carry On Soldier. The third album is called Kevin's picks, and it's called Hold On. And this track comes from that album.
From her eye, the water, the walls ran deep, but now run dry.
On, the title track from Wigmore Alan Gibbons' third album by that same name. A little blurb from Kevin about that song. He said, based on the incorrect theory that your latest song is always your best you've ever written, he decided to include this one in his picks for the album of Kevin's picks. The willful destruction of our environment by the careless politicians and profit-led multinational companies is something that angers all of the Wigmore Alan Gibbons guys. Can a song change things? We can only hope something does, and very quickly. Very timely song for global warming, climate change, the wars. A lot of references to things that are going on in America as well. So things get political with Wigmore Alan Gibbons. As well, things get interesting with the contributions of each one of us. In that one, Hold On features Kevin's songwriting. From his guitars to his lyrics, it's really a Kevin specialty, with Keith adding his own vocals and his bass, and with the usual reinforcements of synthesizers, string pads, and rhythms, drums, percussion from myself. Wigmore Alan Gibbons, learning to hit our stride with various songs. This one coming up, Nothing Special, Left Behind, fourth album, title cut.
In the middle of the night I slip away. At the crack of dawn I'm gone. The pain inside me grows until I have no more. Never, never gonna see me coming back. Never, never gonna see me begging to come home. I can only stand the part I hold when I let it go. When I can't feel it anymore, time has made me whole. Never, never gonna see me coming back. Never, never gonna see me begging to come home.
Left behind, nothing
A song all about relationships, leaving one. The image for that album cover is someone on a dark, rainy night, illuminated cityscape with a bag of luggage in one hand walking down the street. A lonely vigil. Nothing special left behind. Sometimes in anger it feels that way. And so that song is really tapping into that, justifying in one's own mind that it's okay to walk out. It's okay to leave. It's okay to turn your back because there's nothing special left behind. If there was, maybe you'd be rethinking that choice. Life is full of those moments where you have decisions to make, and sometimes post-decisions, there is some regret. You're at the tipping point, and that's what this song is all about.
Come on now and make your choice. A vengeful God or a forgiving one. The man who wants for nothing at all. He has no price at all. We're at the tipping point. We're at the tipping point. The life was short but never too boring. Cover the range without the warning. 1.618. The tipping point.
Beware the number 1.618. Beware the number 1.618. Gibbons algorithm of 1.618.
Focus on the road, do not on the scenery. You're at the tipping point. You're at the tipping point. We're at the tipping point. You're at the tipping point. You're at the tipping point. We're at the tipping point.
Keith Allen, lead vocals, guitars, bass, lyrics, the tipping point, 1.618. Interesting. Nature's little algorithm. That's a significant number. The title of the album is called Tipping Point. That's the title cut. Again, it's a snappy drum beat. And if you listen to the evolution of some of the music, it speaks to technology and technological change. It speaks of changing from used to be very rudimentary DAW, Cakewalk. Music Creator 4.0 was the first software. I got a copy of it from a paid-for copy from a good friend of mine from the band Parable back in the 80s. Dare I say it? Yes, we're that old. And he wanted to get me onto computer recording as opposed to what I had, which was a Sony MDM X4 digital using these little cartridges. And you can get 4 tracks and you can bounce them to get maybe more tracks, 6 or 8. But you had to bounce them. But in zeros and ones, bouncing is a perfect copy of whatever you had. But you just have to mix it as you go. It was difficult, so multi-tracking using a DAW, Digital Audio Workstation, software was the key to unlocking all kinds of creativity over the years. So the past 10 years of Wigmore Allen Gibbons has seen that technology change and evolve. Gone through 3 different computer systems, started off with Windows, dare I say it, Windows 98? Is that the version I started with? Now we're at Windows, 10? Windows 8, 9, 10. And software has to be upgraded each time these computer systems change. More RAM, more speed. Do you feel the need, like Tom Cruise, the need for speed? Well, things change with digital audio workstations and software, and as things improved with the computer end, the hardware end of things, the speed of processing, software developers take advantage of all those changes, and new and great sounds come out, produced by independent publishers, because we are using a Windows-based system. There are all kinds of people producing sounds and software and synthesizers and beats and all kinds of stuff. And we've tried to take advantage of that as we have grown as a band, Wigmore Allen Gibbons. This is the title track from the next album, Wigmore Allen Gibbons, called Test It to Destruction.
Test it to destruction. Test it to destruction. Test it to destruction. Our program is corrupted. We are corrupted too. Rollback evolution. If that's what we could do. Our energy outstrips us. We really shouldn't be here. Perhaps we never were. Perhaps we never were. Test it to destruction.
Destined to Destruction. Album from Wigmore Alan Gibbons, featuring all kinds of changes for us. A little bit of the old. It's an old track called Electro Woman, which was a Halloween kind of Mrs. Frankenstein. If you've ever seen that image of black and white with a lightning bolt hairdo, beehive hairdo on the female Frankenstein's bride, I guess. There's all kinds of interesting stuff. I'm just giving you the title cuts from each of these albums. The next one, featuring Kevin Gibbons. It's not often that we get Kevin to front the band. When he does, it's a treat. This one is Mistaken Identity, and I'll just read a little blurb that Kevin wrote for it. With Big Brother watching from cameras all over the place, we wondered about how easy it might be to be the victim of facial recognition software, a case of mistaken identity.
On the street, I was minding my own, just enjoying the day. Man shouts, hey, he is the one, you gotta put him away. It was a case of mistaken identity. The man pulled a gun from his side, then he's pointing at me. He said we should go for a ride, but I want to get free. It was a case of mistaken identity. Sirens, they scream. Bright stars, then I'm out on the floor. Man, I hope it's a dream. As a case of mistaken identity. Just a case of mistaken identity. Enjoying the day. That champagne is the one, gotta put it away. It was a case of mistaken identity. Just a case of mistaken identity. It was a case of mistaken identity. Just a case of mistaken identity.
Well, how did that come about? It comes about when I usually start by hearing new drum sounds, new patches, new settings, and experiment with something. Well, I've now got something called the Akai MPD 218, which is like a finger drum pad, 4x4, and you can tap in your own rhythms and create your own patterns. When you hear stuff that makes you go in a certain direction, it creates mood. And mood starts for me with rhythms, like listening to the sound of a train on the tracks, and all of a sudden that becomes Johnny Cash's "I Hear the Train A-Comin'" with that. Yeah, sounds, rhythms catch me, whether it's drip, a tin cup being tapped, all kinds of rhythms, cowbells, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, that's how the process starts. It starts with usually a drum, percussion. Sometimes it's specialized sounds. It's not just a regular drum kit, but rhythms based on other sounds. Sampled drum sounds, layered drum sounds. Sometimes these kits have 3 or 4 different sounds layered on each kick. And that becomes the fuel for the mood. So this one was a mysterious thing with an electronic flavor to it. Very mysterious. And of course, that's the theme, technology, facial recognition software. Of course, Kevin ran with it in his own way, with finding a melody and finding the lyric to tell the story of how the mood made him feel. And Keith does what Keith does best, which is find his way to a bass to reinforce the bottom. Although there is a synthetic bass running through it, he reinforced it with his regular bass and the vocals. And Keith has a way of supporting Kevin's lead vocal in a very fresh way. It becomes driving for the chorus kinds of stuff. And that's what we do. Find our way to a song from bits and bobs that we stitch together over time. Of course, each part that the guys generate always comes back to me to assemble and to produce. So the final production that we have is a blending, a stitching, but it's got all kinds of effects on it, from compression to EQ to different software approaches that we use for different songs. It's never the same sound for each one. But I hope you can hear a progression from the early days, the 2012 version of Wigmore Allen Gibbons, to the ones that we're showing you now. The next album is called Doesn't Matter, title cut.
Doesn't matter how it works, just as long as it does. It doesn't matter what you think, just as long as you thought. It doesn't matter how you look, as long as you can see. It doesn't matter what's in your mind, as long as it's doesn't matter, coming second, first or the last. It doesn't matter how a fool's made, only when you smile. Doesn't matter how badly you failed, just as long as you tried. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you do, just as long as you do. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. The album is on Wigmore Allen Gibbons' page on the terrywigmore.com website. Look at the top menu and find Wigmore Allen Gibbons, and you can scroll down. Keith Allen is a, what's the word? Possessed, I guess. Possessed much in the way Jim is, with creativity. It's a blessing that they've been given. Maybe it's a curse because you can never get it all out of your head. But they try. Keith Allen tries, and this one is called The Italian Tour. He simply felt the call of history, and he wanted to get together with various places in Rome and imagine a tour. The title, Art, is a Vespa. What better way to tour Rome and tour Italy than on a Vespa? From the album, The Italian Tour.
Somewhere safe for us to go. No prying eyes in this narrow space. A hidden alley that I know. Down the corridor of the sorry. Da 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 is waiting. Da da not allowed to hear. If we're careful, we'll be fine. Avoid the blame, avoid the fear. We will live till next time. Down the corridor of the sorry. If there was a way to avoid this, hiding and subterfuge. Us to go. Some would say us to go.
From the Italian Tour, Kevin singing, Keith singing, some sizzling synths from me, and pondering, wondering what it would be like to tour Italy on a Vespa. There's one more album, and I'm just going to take one cut from it. It's the final album, the final collection, which is 37 tracks in the Rule of Three album, 10 years of Wigmore, Alan Gibbons, celebrating in 2022, this year. The album won't be wrapped up until the end of 2022 because it's an ongoing project. So far, 37 tracks. It may require another album to complete 2022. We've got so much in store, so much that we haven't published or put out. Some of this stuff is available on SoundCloud. You can go and check the Terry Wigmore site on SoundCloud for all the current stuff that's going up. But the collections as they are on the terrywigmore.com website is the discography so far, as comprehensive as I can make it. Now, of course, there are partial songs, and maybe that's another idea for another podcast. The stuff that didn't make side A or side B, the stuff that is left unfinished. Sort of like Beethoven's Unfinished Symphony. Stay tuned for that one, coming up at the end of 2022. In the meantime, Rule of Three, from the album 10 Years of Wigmore Allen Gibbons, title cut.
It's much more satisfying, it's much more dramatic with the rule of three. We are the three amigos with the three wishes. We work, rest and play, shake, rattle and roll. Any old Tom, Dick and Harry, we stopped, looked and listened for education, education, education. It's much more satisfying, it's much more dramatic with the rule of three. We've been hung, drawn and quartered, but we're ready and steady and ready to go. Sex, drugs and rock and roll. Seen it, seen it, got the t-shirt, so and so and so and so and so. It's all blood, sweat and tears. Let's counteraction! Stand up, speak up, then shut up. It's a rule of three. It's a rule of three. It's a rule of three. It's a rule. T-shirt, so and so and so and so and so. It's all blood, sweat and tears. Lights, camera, action. Stand up, speak up, but shut up and listen. Hip hip hooray, for this, that and the other. Faith, hope and charity. The three little pigs met, the three musketeers, and Veni, Vidi, Vici. It's much more satisfying, it's much more dramatic with the rule of three. It's much more satisfying, it's much more dramatic with the rule of three. Veni, Vidi, Vici. Veni, Vidi, Vici. Veni, Vidi, Vici. Gone. Gone. Gone.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed that curated trip down memory lane for Wigmore Allen Gibbons in our 2022 musical expression. You can find it on the terrywigmore.com website, clicking on the Wigmore Allen Gibbons tab at the top, and you will find all of these albums. And that was just a selection of the title cuts from each of those albums. So many songs, so much history, so little time. Stay tuned. This has been the Jim and Terry Show with Jim, hopefully on his comfy couch, wrapped in his Maple Leafs blankie, having a listen to the podcast in absentia. Jim, we hope we'll be back podcasting together soon. Keep that blanket and the comfy couch warm. Take care now. This has been the Jim and Terry Show. I'm Terry, and wait a minute. There is no Jim. Next week, Jim. Next week.